Hello viewers from wherever you're watching us from around the world. Welcome to your weekly State of Affairs program here on QTV. I'm your host, Aliou Cisse, and this program is aired every Tuesday at 9 p.m. and repeated on Sunday at 10 a.m. If you miss any of our programs, you can also visit our YouTube channel at QTV Gambia, where you can watch all our previous editions of the State of Affairs program, which is of course, your flagship political program here on QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. And we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. Once again, my name is Aliou Cisse. Well, today we are talking about the National Assembly. The third arm of government, quite very important as far as, the running of the affairs of this country is concerned. But of recent, the parliament has come under attack for what many people believe is something that the National Assembly has actually, purchased, brand new Prados, which according to this, it is costing $2.5 million for our National Assembly members. The vehicles are currently parked at the Assembly grounds waiting for documentation and distribution to the National Assembly members. Many Gambians have taken to social media to lambast the NAMs for choosing a luxurious life when, according to them, their constituents are grappling with daily economic hardship. In response, the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly and, of course, some National Assembly members have indeed defended the provision of the vehicles. According to a press release issued by the Office of the Clerk, the provision of these vehicles is under what is called a revolving loan scheme, where each of the National Assembly members is responsible for financing half of the cost of their vehicle during their 5-year tenure. It went further to clarify that members are fully responsible for the fuel and maintenance of the vehicles. Well, joining me this week, I have in the studio Honorable Bilaji Tunkara, who is the National Assembly member for Kantora constituency and also the majority leader of at the Parliament. Honorable, welcome to the State of Affairs program.
I thank you so much for reaching out to us. Of course, anytime you reach out to us, we'll definitely be there because we appreciate the partnership. And then as a public servant, we are obliged to be accessible, be receptive to public and clarify issues. And we appreciate our partnership with you as a fourth estate in democracy, that is the media. Thank you very much for having me here.
To start with, take us through the process of the vehicle purchase. How did the Parliament reach the conclusion that, you know what, we need new Prados?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question. I think we owe it to Gambians to come out and explain to them in detail for them to understand the issues surrounding the vehicle. First of all, we want to appreciate the trust and confidence they have in us for electing us to represent them in the Parliament for the 5 years of our mandate. The vehicle that have been procured recently to be allocated to National Assembly members come as a result during the 5th legislature. His Excellency President Adama Barrow graciously and magnanimously understanding the plight and dignity of Parliament, he thought it wise that it's really unwise, unprofessional and undignifying, seeing parliamentarians struggling to go and do a state function which they're elected for. So to ease the burden, we are given 4x4 pickup Fiat and to National Assembly members. But of course, looking at the nature of governance structure, you have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. We want to achieve, even though our separation is as also important as our interdependence, people begin to criticize the process that it's an opportunity or it's an avenue to lure or trying to induce members of Parliament to get things done for the executive. And even though primarily that wasn't the intention that the president has at the time, given the vehicles, it was open to so many public criticism, so many public debates surrounding it vis-a-vis it's unprofessional, it's about, trying to, deplete the image of Parliament, is trying to compromise the norms and cultures of Parliament in terms of holding government account. How can they receive a gesture from an institution that you are mandated to conduct oversight on? So in the eyes of many, it's not really welcoming, even though primarily that wasn't the objective. It is geared toward good intention to uplift the face of Parliament, to really dignify members of Parliament to get to their work easily. However, Parliament now look way forward. haven't received the public outcry, we sat as parliamentarians and then do the needful, chart a way forward that this might not be the lasting solution. Of course, their fears could come to reality, but to allay their fears now, Parliament is going to enter into an existing government vehicle policy that is 50% borne by the central government and 50% borne by the members of Parliament. That is the agreement that we've arrived at. Now it has to be budgeted for. You remember when there was a proposal made by Yakumba Jaite to put about $58 million in the budget, but it was taken to court and challenged. That is a wrong procedure. It has emanated from the initial budget called circular. So you cannot come to the floor of the House thinking that you are parliamentarian, you have the latitude to cut and paste money anyhow, which is not really appropriate. So that has been challenged to court and the money has been reversed to the CRF, the Consolidated Revenue Fund. Then Parliament did needful that this time around, let's create a budget. Let's put the allocation and then explain to the executive and have it on record. Then that's what we did, knowing the cost of what we want. And Parliament now provided at the end of the last legislature, 2021, there's a provision for this facility, even knowing that some members of Parliament knew that, well, it might not meant for them, but the next set coming might benefit from this package. And that was why, it has been allocated and been approved by the National Assembly, which is an act of Parliament. And then come this year, we went into the implementation and the modality deduction vis-a-vis and also pay the revolving loan as well.
And Honorable, when you look at the issue of the vehicle, the timing here that so many people are questioning, often than not, we hear National Assembly members complain about how government is spending, our monies on buying vehicles, traveling, and here yet you have a National Assembly member, taking a vehicle that will cost 2.5 million, and I would like to confirm whether this is the actual amount for this product.
Yes, officially in our contract agreement, this is the cost price of the vehicle, 2.5 million, as per the Safe Hour contract with us, National Assembly. And the issue is that, yes, parliamentarian has been advocating for government to implement the vehicle policy. Why vehicle policy? It helps us in terms of judicious spending, and then also making sure that people are accountable of whatever resources they are at their disposal or they are using currently. So Parliament really advocate for that the government need to really engage into a proper vehicle policy to save costs. But if you look at this arrangement, this is more proper and more cost effective in terms of spending wise, because Parliament is not giving it all to central government to purchase, but also Parliament comes in as a form of counterpart contribution to pay amount of it, half of it, through their own revolving loan scheme. And their cost of maintenance and their fueling solely and wholly depend on the member itself. So the issue is that, I think the bone of contention is that this vehicle that are now lined up in Parliament, the burning issue is it that parliamentarian does not deserve to have a vehicle in the first place or not? Because we want a clarity, because if you give someone a responsibility and that person needs to be resourced for him to carry out his responsibility effectively, I think there is no sensible human being that would even, first of all, debate for a parliamentarian to have a vehicle. So what is the bone of contention in the first place? No, but one will argue, you choose the responsibility to be in Parliament, yes, Honorable. Yes. And also people will say, okay, National Assembly members are now acting selfish in this case. You allocated clothing allowance to yourself, now brand new vehicles. Like I say, once again, the timeliness, considering the current realities in this country, yes, Honorable. How will you face your constituents and say, yes, it's because of this I'm driving a $2.5 million vehicle, when most of the people that voted you in are struggling to put food on the table? Thank you very much for that question. I want to make it clear that every portfolio comes with responsibility. Okay. You are elected as a member of Parliament. In every democracy, in every parliament around the world, vehicles are always procured to give to members of parliament for them to use in their day-to-day running affairs of their duties. This is not even something that should be open for a debate, that member of parliament shouldn't have a vehicle. They should have a vehicle. That is my belief, if we are to dignify and also help them execute their role. Let me tell you, if you look at our proceedings since assuming office in this the sixth legislature, you've seen the delay in the session starting, sometimes lack of quorum. These are all geared towards issue of mobility. Some of them are living far and wide. So I think for us to make sure that not keeping wasting taxpayers' money, we're supposed to assume a responsibility, be in chambers, do X, Y, and Z. We could not have quorum as a result of mobility. MPs are not mobile. They are finding it very difficult to commute, from their destination to the parliament. So if parliament is now trying to really help them, not only coming to office, but also help facilitate their movement, to have that nexus, have that connectivity, outreach program to their constituency, help them get in the grassroots, help them have an avenue whereby whenever they are called, fast response, they go there. Recently, there was flood victim, and the MP for Woolly West and Woolly East were struggling to even go to Basse because there was no mobility in place. So once this thing comes to reality, it is even in the interest of the electorate that anytime you need a representative at difficulty, at crime moment, swiftly they will come to your aid and then see what would be.
Are you telling us now with these new vehicles, punctuality will improve at the parliament?
Obviously, this is not, we're not going to compromise issue of late coming. We're not going to also compromise issue of closing session or adjourning a session as a result of a lack of quorum, because that shows ineptitude, that also shows seriousness on the side of parliamentarian. If you're not having any official engagement outside the country, you are given every privilege. Taxpayers have really helped you to have every privilege at your disposal. I don't think it is wise for an MP, wherever you are living, with this new provision of vehicles, you should be able to reach to Parliament on time and attend your primary responsibility, that is the legislation in Parliament, and attend every committee engagement as well. So the issue of late starts and also even cancellation of sittings because as a lack of quorum, is as a loss to the state, as a loss to the taxpayer as well.
So as we speak, how will you describe the punctuality of your colleagues?
Yeah, to be honest, they are really struggling in terms of, some of us, of course, we have our official vehicles. It has really made life very easy for us. Currently, I'm living all the way from Jabang.
Are you saying the punctuality is poor as we speak?
Yeah, it's currently poor because you've seen the last session, there was a day that we couldn't sit as a result of quorum.
Because most of them travel outside of the country.
Not only traveling, some are also languishing in traffic to get to Parliament.
But isn't it? But these things are normal, honorable. I mean, most of the people who works in government, they struggle to get to work. I mean, you people, you are the representatives of the people, and you're supposed to be selfless, according to so many people.
Yeah, you see, you guys need to understand the work of Parliament is very delicate. You are a representative of people. You are mandated to go and hold government functionaries to account. You must be beyond temptation. You must be also have some degree of independence in you to make sure that you don't really be begging for lift from a permanent secretary, begging for lift from a director to bring you to office. That issue, that human contact, where you are conducting oversight, should be discouraged. So once you're not being given these privileges and these favors, someone carrying you, once the person sit before you as a member of Parliament, you are mandated to hold someone to account. Definitely, you are a human being. Human nature plays in there. So I think this state, this country, if we are to really do justice, we should make sure that we provide the necessary working tools, minimum required working tool for parliamentarian, show that they'll be beyond temptation, they'll be also beyond inducement, to make sure that they carry out their job with honesty and integrity as per the oath we took in office. So I think these vehicles will go a long way in enabling us. It's not about the 2.5 million per se. Also, if you look at it, I've heard some people are saying, why don't you go for 1 million vehicle? So people are not really in contrary to the vehicles, probably the pricing. That is what they are against. But if you look at the pricing also, it is also wise to look at the lifespan of the vehicle and also the durability, the roadworthiness. So that comes in. So that at least at the end of the day, the ideals of procurement, value for money, is attained in the long run.
But Honorable, in most countries, when you go there, I mean, you don't see the government allocating vehicles to National Assembly members. For example, in Britain, government only allocates vehicles to government departments and ministries.
Yes.
So can the National Assembly members buy their own personal vehicle that they can use to go and represent their people?
Well, that is not the practice.
Or maybe your own party, you belong to the NPP, or maybe the NPP can get you a vehicle as a member of parliament.
Yeah, that is not the practice anywhere in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I stand to be corrected. We encourage government giving free lunch to parliamentarians. As I told you, we have an oversight responsibility to do. So that is why this issue of central government coming into a level, and the parliament also as an institution bringing a countable contribution to a level to make sure that parliamentarians are not held hostage or are not held in compromise in terms of executing a mandate. To allowing also a political party to provide you with vehicles, that is also, it has its own negative effect, because the issue that we are running for, to compromise the member of parliament, of course, the party will dictate it. Sometimes there are critical issues that come before parliament. You as a politician, of course, you've seen a party interest and a party position, but you also see that the bigger picture is a nation. How do you balance these two to make sure that you stand before self? But if you allow too much of comfort to be given to you by your party, in the long run, I'm afraid you might be compromised.
And let's look at the issue of the payment. I mean, you're saying the National Assembly members are going to pay half. That's 50%,
yes,
which is like 2.5 million. Maybe you're going to pay 1.25 million
yes,
in 5 years.
Yes.
I just want to know how much is being deducted from you each month?
Currently, because it has been deducted prior before today, it's just that it hasn't come to light. But once the vehicles are being displayed in the public view, people get to understand. But this deduction started way back since last year. $22,500, I think, or thereabout, is being deducted monthly as the National Assembly revolving loan scheme.
And what about the maintenance and other conditions?
Yeah, the maintenance, because of cost effectiveness and also because of the reduced burden on Parliament. Parliament now come with a policy that the cost of maintenance and also fueling is now on the shoulder of the Parliament. And also these vehicles are insured in the name of National Assembly, and then nobody can also just misuse them. These are public resources. They need to be in a good shape and a proper manner, so that at least the purpose in which they are being procured, they could serve the purpose.
In the event that, the law provides, in the event that you are recalled by your constituents,
yes,
or the inevitable happens, which is death,
yes,
what will happen? Who will pay for this?
No, like I said, we have similar scenarios to this effect, whereby we had, of course, unforeseen circumstances whereby a parliamentarian passed away, and there was a by-election, and then the other MP assumed. So the Parliament has to provide during the fifth legislature. Biromso had a vehicle to go. However, the current operation right now is that the parliamentary will deduct 50% and the central government pays 50%. So in the event this thing happens again, we'll have to look at again internally what is visible, the next coming member of parliament. Because sometimes also the law said that if he passed away 9 months before the end of his 9 months before the end of his tenure, you don't go by election. The seat becomes vacant till election. So there are so many legal ramifications surrounding that as well.
You talk about the use of the vehicle here. I want to know, are there any standards laid out how to one will use the vehicle, and how will you describe misuse of vehicles? A vehicle that those are personal vehicles. You are not paying 50%.
Yeah, as currently as authority members, we are coming out with kind of a policy, a regulation guiding this thing, and the vehicles, of course, even though they will only be yours 100% after 5 years, but they must be in service of the parliament, your constituency, for the purpose of in which you are elected to represent them. So nobody can tamper with the vehicle, and if you tamper with it, the parliament will pay the damage, but they will deduct you again. That's the policy we come up. Like if you happen to have an accident now, we have a kind of insurance policy now to cover the vehicle, and the accident we now measure that it is your own negligence now. So parliament would still incur the loss, but deduct you as your monthly to make sure that the vehicles are in good shape to serve you for the 5 years. So that's the modality we are creating.
Interesting. Well, viewers, you are watching State of Affairs. I mean, we are now joined on the program by Seth Mati Jau, Executive Director of Center for Research and Policy Development. Seth Mati, good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know you've been following developments at the Parliament relating to the fleet of new vehicles. I know many people, they will have wished to be in Parliament today to be able to drive one of those $2.5 million. But as a member of the civil society, your take?
I mean, I think for me, I mean, thanks. It's been a while to be here. I'm happy to be on the same platform with Honorable. I mean, I think I've seen the reactions from the public, and I think the reactions. I mean, for me, they were not surprising. They were expected. Expected in the sense that one, there's a greater interest in terms of how people want their National Assembly or generally politicians to behave. But secondly, it's also shows interest in terms of how people, citizens generally want to hold their elected leaders and government generally more accountable to what they are, and also to look at how do we prioritize issues, whether this is a priority or otherwise. For me, I mean, as a member of civil society, as a citizen, of course, I think the question, and I think I had Honorable talking about explaining the different, aspect, is what is the purpose of the vehicle? And I think a lot of people have been complaining about the cost. I mean, of course, we will agree on the cost, but we are talking about also National Assembly members. But for me, I mean, I'm a functional guy, and our organization have been following and monitoring Parliament. And that's why for me, I haven't much to say in terms of that, but I feel these vehicles will really help improve the work of Parliament. And why I'm saying this is because the fact that, I mean, we've done a study on the cost of running for parliamentary politics. Today, there are no vehicles. I mean, even the old vehicles that, I mean, we can all question their legitimacy, but when they came, they end up becoming ambulances for pregnant women. And so sometimes, like for me, I look at these different options and then look at it. But of course, what people are complaining is about the cost. And of course, there's a need for us to be convinced of why Parliament decided to go for these high-level vehicles. And yesterday, one of my friends was saying, boy, 1.5 million could have worked. But I mean, so for me, I mean, I think this is it. But then for a lot of civil society members, and I think general public, is that whether this is a priority. But then if you look at the work, especially the distance that some of these parliamentarians have to cover, I mean, for me, I think it's a good investment. And secondly, I mean, they did not, if hadn't been like they break the law like the last time, I mean, we would have been the first to take them to court, But then for us, we feel like this is, it's already policy, a bill has been passed, a law has been made. So those are the areas that I want to...
But one will say this is a career choice. I mean, the same problem that the MPs are facing is the same problem that you and I are facing in terms of transportation in this country.
Yeah, but then my responsibility is, as an MP, is that, like, for instance, he's from Kantora. What is the population of Kantora? 3,000 or 30,000 voters, for instance.
But said this is a career choice. Nobody was forced. Nobody was forced to be in Parliament. They choose.
No, I mean, like, so the issue is not about the Parliament, but it's how do we support Parliament to do their function?
That's it.
Because the function is also representation.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I agree with in terms of how people, criticize. People need to hold their parliamentarians accountable. They need to do all that. But for me, at the end of the day, when it comes to doing the job, I'm speaking optimistically from what I anticipate that these vehicles would be, would happen. So for me, like looking at, when you look at our study on the cost of parliamentary politics, to look at the fact that parliamentarians are responsible for certain things, even though it's not part of their mandate, but they still continue to perform that.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, helping people that have funerals, they will come to parliamentarians. People that have, I mean, and for me, these are structural issues that we need to change. Just not to say like, oh, parliamentarians are benefiting from vehicles.
And Sefmati, to really buttress your point, of course, with your permission.
Okay.
You see, I told him that it is really not about luxurious life. No, the money involved, of course. I said it's because of cost effectiveness. Looking at the lifespan of a Prado and the durability, roadworthiness, you cannot compare it to $1.5 million a vehicle. And secondly, it's not really about the individual parliamentarian sitting down there. It's about the dignity of parliament. How do you dignify the parliament? And secondly, also, how do you also protect them from being induced, from being compromised in the roles and responsibility they are carrying? These parliamentarians, if they are well resourced, look at the impresses. Do you know how many millions of dollars that through our committee investigation we've really recovered for the state, which could have really gone in the waterways? So it's about you trying to somewhat make a parliamentarian independent, make them effective in terms of, I told you, it is not in the interest of the country for us to open a sitting and just be told that there is no quorum because of what parliamentarian couldn't make it to office. The state is losing. So with this current arrangement, it is going to be unacceptable, and we want the public to challenge us. Any day that parliament said as a result of lack of quorum because they are busy somewhere, then you have a cause of concern that you guys are on serious.
You're talking highly of this Prado. Did
Yes.
you did any assessment or comparison to reach to this point that Prado is the best for that a National Assembly is?
Yes, during the procurement as a member of authority, I understand, of course, there are two companies involved. You have the choice of Pajero, Mitsubishi, and also there is Toyota Prado. And in fact, what I'm privy to, even though I'm not part of a contract committee, but of course, we are the governing body of parliament, we are privy to so many informations. The Mitsubishi is, I don't want to say because maybe to spoil market for them, I'm sorry, but it's just for clarity purposes. You know, was asking for 3 million. But if you look at the spare part, if you look at also the cost of maintenance, if you look at also the availability of the parts in the market compared to Toyota is all over. And this Mitsubishi, they are now these modern time Mitsubishis, petrol engine, highly electronic, and with these potholes here and there, this rainwater everywhere. So when they get in contact with water, sometimes it creates this brain issue with the vehicle. So Toyota is more designed for this part of Africa, where look at all these government projects. They are even moving. The trend is now moving from now Mitsubishi to Toyota. Even this Giraffe, whatever you call it, all these projects, they understood that the durability and the resistance in terms of the roadworthiness is in Toyota than of, I'm not spoiling market for Mitsubishi, but of course, that is we want to make sure that at least cost for money, value for money is attained in this procurement. And that is why it is cheaper, but also in terms of our analysis, it's something to go for.
Said Mati?
Yeah, no, for me, I don't know cars. I don't know what the specs are, all that. But I'm like I said, I'm a functional person. I look at, what is the investment that we are making, and also what is the likely benefit. And the good thing, the good thing with this for me, I think he talked about one of the things, and then we've been trying to measure that, and that is like the attendance of National Assembly members during session. And usually you see sometimes like some will come late, some will stay longer, and that is one of the also accountability mechanisms where we can hold them to account. Well, you said you paid for this. The citizens are paying half of that. And now, you are not attending parliament. What is happening? You cannot say, well, transportation is my excuse. But secondly, also you have problems of, especially in the rural communities. And this is where I feel like, as a country, we neglect rural communities to an extent that we think like it doesn't exist. Yeah, you have parliamentarians, they come here, they're in parliament here, they hardly go back to their communities. And what are the reasons? Why are they not going back to their communities?
But don't you think we are just assuming here, thinking that, okay, most MPs don't come to parliament on time because of transport issue. Most of them don't go back to their constituents because of transport issues.
Mobility.
There could be other reasons beyond that.
No, that is the complaint we receive.
No, I agree. There could be other reasons. But then when you look at it, like we go to parliament almost every day.
Yeah.
Our organization, but we have never asked them why are you coming late and here. But what we can see that is people come late. And we assume also that they are parliamentarians. I see some parliamentarians standing and asking for leave.
Yeah.
If that's what they do every day to get to
Banjul,
to wait for car or to get to Banjul, it delays.
But how
so
many
for me, I'm saying
How many people are doing that in this
No,
country?
no, like you see, this is the other problem that we also have, because we also tend to compare, people play different functions, different jobs.
It's not the same.
It's not like today, like you cannot compare me as a member of civil society and parliamentarian. Nobody elected me, so I speak, but for him, they have also responsibility. And why I'm talking about this, in this sense, is that parliament has like three functions.
It was a decision to contest Setmati.
You're stopping at the contesting. So you're not stopping at now. Now you have contest.
Yeah.
Now you want to do your work. How are you going to do your work?
Exactly.
All right.
And secondly also,
This kind of honorable viewers here watching KTV State of Affairs here on KTV. I am Aliou Ceesay. Our guest this week, Honorable Bilaji Tunkara, who is the National Assembly member for Kantora constituency, and also the majority leader. By the way, he's also the head of the Gambia's delegate to the ECOWAS Parliament, and of course, Setmati Jaw, executive director of Center for Research and Policy Development. We'll go with a short break, and when we return, discussion continues. Do stay tuned.
Technology has always been at the forefront of our lives, and the way we use it has evolved drastically over the years. With the advent of 5G internet, we are entering a new era of technological innovation that promises to transform the way we live, work, and play. 5G internet is capable of providing data speeds up to 100 times faster than 4G, making it the ideal solution for streaming high-quality videos, playing online games, and downloading large files on the go. 5G internet is already transforming cities across the globe, powering smart cities, self-driving cars, and virtual reality experiences that were once thought impossible. 5G internet is also paving the way for Internet of Things, allowing for seamless connectivity between devices and the creation of a truly connected world. For the first time in the Gambia, QCell is bringing tomorrow's technology to you today with the launch of QCell 5G Internet. Get ready to experience the out-of-this-world wonders of QCell's 5G Internet. For more information, call 111. QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Hello viewers, welcome back from the short break. You are watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, right behind the QCell main building. My name is Aliou Ceesay, and our guests this week are Honorable Bilaji Tunkara, National Assembly member for Kantora constituency and majority leader, and Setmati Jaw, as a director of Center for Research and Policy Development. Gentlemen, welcome back to the program. I mean, so in this case, how much is the taxpayer soldering as far as this payment is concerned?
Yeah, like I said, the arrangement is in twofold. Prior before coming that, I just want to shed more light on where he really dropped. You see, I told you that it is not in the best interest of the country, it's not in the best interest of the taxpayers to allow parliamentarians standing on the roadside begging for a lift to be picked up by a director, be picked up by a permanent secretary or a minister. It compromised the entire thing. We are really looking at the separation, even though the interdependence is important, but separation has to be there to a certain degree whereby you not be compromised in your oversight function. And whenever you said how many people are on this...
teachers?
Yeah?
Doctors, teachers?
Yeah, whenever you compare these things to me, it clearly tells me that you don't really understand the parliament nature and what we are really doing, and also the sensitivity of our job in terms of holding an institution, a government that collects tax on behalf of our people account. It's very, very sensitive. It's like audits. Sometimes auditors general are paid more than, even a chief judge or even as a speaker in some countries. If you check that, it's not about the person per se, but it's about the temptation the office normally is they face. The sensitivity of the job it renders. This is someone who holds government to account, who audits government, and also has the power to arrest anybody for misuse of resources. So that person needs to have some certain degree of independence, some certain degree of comfort to make sure that the resources are at his disposal to be able to execute the job. So if you guys start comparing teachers, doctors here and there, you're getting the entire thing wrong. That's not the way of doing things. Now, coming to the cost, the MPs are taking 50%. The government is shouldering 50%. So 1,250,000 is being borne by taxpayers. Yeah, if simple mathematics, because it's 50-50.
Said Mati?
I mean,
taxpayers are paying 1.2 million to the National Assembly members.
Well, it's a shared car because the National Assembly is is representing the people, so they're sharing the cost with the people.
Yes.
And for me, this is why I'm also, that's why I'm trying to argue also, and I know for a fact that when the vehicles get to the community, get to the National Assembly, the community themselves, they must benefit from this vehicle.
Obviously.
I mean, like, this is what they do every day.
Man, we've seen National Assembly members who will get vehicle once they get it tinted. You will never see them again.
You see,
even to give a right to their constitutional problem.
now if I speak, like, people will say, okay, he's trying to defend the National Assembly. But I'm saying this because we follow and monitor and listen to the conversation that is happening every day at the National Assembly. I was talking about the representative function of the National Assembly, going there, representing their own constituents. It's the people that elect them to go there. If the people send them there, so they have to speak on behalf of the people. Today, if they're speaking on behalf of the people and then the people complain about access to healthcare and all those different stuff, if these National Assembly members, they visit their constituency and people see that they have the vehicles, people before they come to me, they go to their National Assembly members. And this is a hard fact. It is happening every day. It's not only in terms of access to the vehicle or anything else, but beyond that, there are other responsibilities that they are doing. It's not their function. So where the vehicles are also important is the oversight function. National Assembly members, they live, right now it's committee session. Sometimes they take part and then travel around the country to monitor government projects, to look at their areas of intervention. How do we expect them to go to do all these functions? I mean, for me, this is the reason why I justify that. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm anticipating, and this is what I say, based on what the current practice, and I think when these vehicles come, the community will also still benefit from that. And this is the hard fact. If this was for them,
exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Honorable, let's now look at the procurement. How was it done? Was it an open tender or just?
Like I said, not part of the procurement
Exactly,
team.
I know you said
yes,
that earlier.
and we are just the governing body.
Yes, yeah.
But I know that it's a very transparent one. GPPA is involved, and right now we've got even our own accreditation that we are independent institution.
Yeah.
We can procure without even going to GPPA. Okay. You understand? So basically, Parliament has been doing very, very, very well in terms of observing procurement rules and regulation as well. We cannot be a lawmaking institution going ultra vires to those said this thing. And also, let me remind you, just to buttress Seth Mati's point. When this flood victim happened in Woodley, in Kantora, in Basse, the first point of contact was the MP. He struggled to go to GPTC here and join public bus. It took him 6-7 hours to get there. And he was there in the waters trying to rescue the ram, trying to rescue the goods. And he was working with the disaster team on the ground to assess the damages. He was literally going, because he knows the village, he knows the constituency. He was leading the team to go and assess. So, had it been, these vehicles are available. Once a disaster strike, God forbid, or anything comes, when it's contacted, it's always there to represent.
Or you can even have a constituency office
exactly.
where you can get somebody who's
exactly.
employed,
so,
who will get you information
and
as
also,
to how things
it
are
does not
unfolding in your
only serve that. It also bridge
exactly
the connectivity, the outreach, the contact with your constituency. At least with this vehicle, you have every privilege to visit your constituency at least once in a month and go there and assess.
Or once every 3 months, engage them.
Exactly.
Organize public hearings, I mean, for me, this is why I'm saying, looking at the functions, the use of the vehicles, rather than even the cost. Of course, people concerned, and they have every right to be concerned. But at the end of the day, for me, I want to focus on the good that this vehicle will bring.
And now, Honorable, I know in 2017, like you said earlier on, I mean, vehicles were also given to the Parliament from what the government said an anonymous donor. Where are those vehicles?
You are bringing new topic again. Okay. Those vehicles, some of them are no more roadworthy, and some, of course, due to accident. And right now, we are writing to the Office of President to see how we are going to dispose these vehicles.
Are they individual vehicles now, or they still belong to the National Assembly?
It doesn't belong to National Assembly because National Assembly resources have not been used to procure it. Okay. So the ownership cannot be justified by Parliament that it is a vehicle. It's been given by President, and it's only the President who can give a directive that, okay, I've given to each member to take.
But we understand they belong to the National Assembly members now, because I have seen some former MPs who are no more in Parliament are still using those pickups.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The President has the prerogative to give out. So I don't think, since he has given them to Parliament, he has even went after again to say what are the fate of those vehicles. So technically, you cannot transfer the vehicle into your name without the first, how do you say, the consignee or what, the consignment where the vehicles are insured in his name to able to have the transfer.
Will you accept this new Prado, Honorable?
Of course I will.
The guy has been paying 22,000.
It's an investment.
But by the way, you know he lives the forest because he's from Kantora. Kantora is quite far.
I went to do research in I think in Kantora.
Yes.
I mean, like when there is no clear road, you have to get in out and there to get to the village that I was getting to. I mean, for me, I mean that's why I get angry in this country where we leave the rural community to just be like that.
Yeah.
I mean that's the problems that we need.
That's what I mean. I asked Honorable, where are you? He said, I'm in my area.
Yes.
Yes. And now, Samari, let's look at the burden on taxpayers. Should this thing really be capped on?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think at some point, for me, I always argue that governance is expensive, and you know, and for me, I mean, as a government person, to things that will be invested to help governance, usually I don't say they are expensive. Because I think it's worth it. But of course, if you look at also in terms of the current poverty rate, the challenges that people are facing, you know, when people look at those things and then see their lives and then see the lives of their elected leaders, you know, they see a distance between them and those people. And for me, that's also one of the challenges that we need to address. But we cannot address that by buying cars for other people. How do we address that? Is to ensure that the way our budget is being delivered or the way it is being done is to ensure that a lot of it, at least 60% or so, let it go to the development fund. Let it develop the people so that people can also get benefit from government. But as it is currently seen from the public side, to a large extent, is that these people are enjoying and they are leaving us here. And that's why also for me that is also contributing to the issue, the perception of trust. It is also contributing to the perception of corruption within the National Assembly. And we need to find ways of trying to address that.
And talking about issue of perception of trust on National Assembly members, you did a survey, and then in 2018 it was 61%. 2021 it drops to 44%. 2022 36%.
Yeah, that shows generally that since 2018 there's been like decline in trust for the National Assembly. But it's also not only the National Assembly; it's the political class. You know, the president, the National Assembly, local government, even parties, ruling party, opposition. So there's that general decline in terms of trust, and this is where I think politicians need to do more. To build that trust. And how do they do that is in terms of the budget. How is the budget being implemented? Whether people are also experiencing or getting the benefit that they're supposed to get. But generally we've seen in terms of that there's a decline in trust. And of course Parliament need to look at that. Members of Parliament need to look at that to see, in 2018 we were like 61%. We were trusted this much, and in 2022 is like almost half, is almost 30% decline in terms of the level of trust. So for me, I think this should be a warning sign that people are following, people are listening, and people are paying attention to what their members are doing.
Honorable, what have you been doing wrong that will warrant that drop from 61% to 36% in 2022?
I mean, like you said, governance is very complex. It's not easy to win the heart of people. Little thing can make you lose your grip, and then with little mistake also can make you rejected. And of course, with little magic again, can really help you boost your confidence in them. So politics itself is so dynamic, so very fragile that it's hard to maintain consistency. So you might be trusted in your first time, second time you're not trusted. First and sometimes because people present you to people that don't know you much, but because of recommendations, you have been given the opportunity. But sometimes, many members of Parliament, their second vote, if you compare it to the previous vote, you see that drop there. It's a cause for concern. It shows that your love or appreciation in the community is dropping. So you have to buckle up and see the deficiencies that you are actually facing, how to augment them or how to adjust them.
But specifically, what will you point to as some of the wrongs that you think must have warranted that drop. I mean, if someone has trusted you 61%,
Yes.
all of a sudden within 2 years to 36%,
Yes.
certainly something is wrong.
That's what I'm telling you. Man by nature is just, gullible. It's just man changes a lot.
Specifically, what will you point to?
You cannot tie it to specific reasons. These are open to general reasons. It might be because when you're elected, let me tell you, politics is very funny. When you're elected, probably your life has now changed a little. They say, he's enjoying, he's leaving us behind.
Are you saying it's because of that there's too much noise?
Yes.
Yeah?
Or they used to see you, walking on the streets, and when they elect you now, the position has now earned you a vehicle. So envy will come. Is there no, this man? No. So it's just you can't understand. Like politics, that's how it is. It's very, very, very complex. People can just decide to give their back on you on reasons. If you explain, if you ask them why, they can justify. But that is human nature. The ego there, the pride, the jealousy, the envy is always there. You don't also expect someone to assume this high office and you want him to stay where the person is. He has to be like that stagnant. He shouldn't advance in life. Of course, you expect his way of life to change because the current salary he was given as a teacher different from the current reality.
And now being a major leader, and also a somebody earlier on, I mean, you talk about success. I want to know from you, what is your criteria for success?
In terms of the
vehicles.
Yeah, in terms of, for me, I think like using the vehicles for good. And why would I say using the vehicle for good is knowing well that there are gaps in terms of the development aspirations, especially for MPs that are coming from the rural communities that are very disconnected from, from the roads, because we know for a fact that community members will need the vehicle when it comes to certain services, and so being available to the needs of the people, because at the end of the day, I mean, looking at it, of course the MPs will be the one driving it, but it's a shared property. It's a shared property between we can say for instance the constituency and the MP itself, because the MP
in Parliament?
Yeah. But so it also can contribute to that, but it also can help in terms of their oversight function, in terms of their outreach. Like we all need parliamentarians. We need them to come to our activities. We need them to be engaging with the public. We need them to be able to do that. And I think for me these are the good things. But to also to I mean, just quickly maybe to say one of the reasons why I think, and I've argued somewhere, why I think they have been dropped in terms of trust level with the parliament. For me I always say is the constitution, or the terms of laws or certain things that they have been doing there that people feel shouldn't be the case. But in terms of the vehicle, for me, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And, of course, it's expensive. We cannot cry over spilled milk. I think we cannot take the money back. But at the end of the day, do we use the vehicles for good? For me, this is what I anticipate, as success.
And I will ask you, because you're coming from the civil society, you also try to hold the parliament accountable. I mean, many will say, I mean, this is a parliament that anything that's about them is easily passed. I know how they will respond to that.
Well, I think that should be.
No, the National Service Act. I mean,
but that is critical. But that is important.
Yeah, exactly. And but here we have the anti-corruption bill is still in Parliament.
Oh yes, we need to ask them about that.
Maybe you could have put it. You could have put it this way, that when it comes to your welfare, there is that so much solidarity and unity.
That's what we have seen in this.
That could be the question.
Many people are saying, okay, when it comes to politics, you are always at loggerhead. Yeah. But when it comes to something that benefits you, you're all united. Like in the case of these vehicles now, even people that many thought would have said, no, I'm not taking it, are embracing the vehicle.
Welfare.
Like I said, the welfare, nobody's against welfare. So be it opposition, be it independent mind in the parliament, be it a ruling party, once welfare comes, you see that solidarity there. You see that oneness there. That's unity, manifest. However, I think, as he rightly said, the prospect that this vehicle will actually bring for Parliament, one, is to really uplift their dignity, not to be easily manipulated or easily induced by way of their contact with the executive or their contact with other institutions, the whole account. And two, also, it also serves as saving most of resources for our taxpayers, because if Parliament happen to sit for 20 days or 25 days, and within that they had about 3 or 4, 5 days adjourned because of lack of quorum, the country is losing. So if these vehicles are there, I don't think the issue of we don't have quorum will manifest. So parliamentarians, they will now be cautious that, and hence every resource is now available to your disposal. You have to be serious. You have to make sure that due diligence is done to make sure that your core functions as parliamentarian is done. And third or fourth would be the issue of connectivity, the outreach. It helps you bring you closer to bridge the gap between the parliament and the constituency, because many people lost their time as a result of the gap is too wide. They go to the constituency 4, 5, 6 times. I mean, every 6 months once, or every 4 months once.
You don't have the connection with the people.
So you lose grassroots, you lose grip of your constituency, and you also lose relevancy there.
Yeah,
that's why
at the end of the day, like I said, it's not about giving them something,
no,
but just being there with them alone.
Solidarity, being there when there are difficulties, in their crisis, when they're in disaster, you be there.
Just be there with
and
them. That
let me tell you,
MPs
are so magnanimous. Sometimes they, if you look at even their take home, they literally share with their constituency, because they are doing something. I see it as an extra curricular responsibility given to them, because how can electorate say, okay, I don't have roof over my head, you are busy buying 10 packets of corrugates, just to comfort them, to say that I'm in solidarity with you, that's all. So basically, I think inshallah, of course, and they might talk about anti-corruption, we are doing very good due diligence to it, even though the current minister inherited, but it's not an excuse. Government of continuity. And then we are taking it because these are also new parliamentarians, and there is need to have more audience, more understanding to make sure the law is passed.
Will you pass it within the next 12 months?
That is our goal. We've gone far, and that's why we say that even if you take parliament to have a retreat to bring all the new parliamentarians, because once you propose, some also are proposing, we don't agree, you can see that there is that mixture of mindset. That lack of understanding exists. Because this has been with this 5th legislature, and now you have the 6th legislature. Yes, it's some now been carried over to the 6th, and some are very new and this is their first time. And knowing how anti-corruption is with its political caps here and there in it, so you need to have a compromise, a play level ground to compromise some issues, and then so that for the interest of the nation to make a headway. So that's why
do you agree with Honorable that with this new vehicle now, the dignity of the parliament, knowing the fact that the parliamentarians are going to be responsible for their fueling and everything. Fuel is very expensive in this country.
Yeah, of course. If you drive a new Prado, yeah. But then the other question is it's not only about the vehicles now. It's about how are they seen to be doing their their real work as parliamentarians. Because if because we've improved their dressing. Yeah. with the allowance. Now we have improved their.
By the way, 100,000 is for 5 years. So that also.
Excuse me.
One of.
And now we are improving their Warukai. What they call movement. So I think now we decide. But I think Honorable mentioned one thing that is very clear, that when it comes to welfare, we see. That solidarity,
unity,
and I think this needs also need to be extended, especially on issues that are very important to the community. Like the anti-corruption bill is really important to the community, and I'm it's good that he made that explanation to see, because we've been following the process. And then last time, I think it come before the other session, it come this session also, but it has also been pushed to the other session. These are things that are very, important to the community. I think collectively, there's a need to look at that.
But do you think this is sustainable? We're running out of time. Do you think this is sustainable? It means the next legislature, we have to do the same.
Yeah, but then for me, I'm trying to also, this is what I wanted to, we are debating, we are saying it's expensive or not, but we forget to look at the model itself. Because this is a new model, it seems, and I think I saw somebody was arguing that even government might look at that. Like, okay, you contribute half of your money, and secondly, you are responsible for fueling, for all that stuff. But this local fuel, for me, I feel is one of the places where there's a lot of corruption. Where people will just request for fuel here and there. But now at least this one is done by the parliamentarian themselves. So for me, I think,
are you saying we should cap what government spends?
No, I'm saying now is a responsibility.
The vehicle policy.
What should we?
Yeah. So this is a vehicle policy.
Yeah,
this is a vehicle policy. And we've been discussing about vehicle policy with central government, with other places. I think this is an opportunity also for central government to say, okay, National Assembly, what can we look at it? Can we learn? Does it work? I mean, for me, I'm not an economist. I'm just saying I'm more interested in functional and the governance side, but I'm hoping that the economists will be able to do analysis and say, okay,
exactly. We've run out of time. Honorable, in just 30 seconds, your final message for today.
Yeah, I first of all also thank you so much, and I want to assure the citizen that we understand their cry out there. Of course, 2.5 million is not small money, but let them be assured this money will put into good use, and also it will also yield dividend for the country. We'll make sure that parliamentarians use this vehicle to the best of our ability to make sure that it serves a purpose that has been given to them. And not only that, that's why the authority, yesterday we sat, today we sat, to make sure that the vehicles are not only left like that to the member of parliament. We are even bringing out a scheme, like even driving, to make sure that they will be now responsible for their drivers. We don't want them to be driving the vehicle because some of them don't know how to drive. Yeah. Like I said, these vehicles are going to be insured, and if you cause any damage on the vehicle, we'll deduct it from your salary to make sure that the vehicle must be in good shape. And you have to bring your driver that you trust. We are now currently engaging Riders for Health so that the drivers go there for testing and for training, and also to secure license to drive the members of parliament. Okay. So all these things are things that they are caveats we are putting in place to make sure that the vehicles serve the purpose in which they are being procured. So I want to assure them that inshallah this will address the issue of lack of quorum. It also address issue of these connectivity or this outreach program. They can always access the MPs at any time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time. I know you've been so busy, but then you left all that you were doing just to be here on this program, just to also discuss. I mean, it's all about national development. It's just to help better clarify certain issues that the public out there are asking. I mean, so and Seth Mati, it's always a pleasure to have you on the State of Affairs program. Thank you so much for being on the program. And to viewers, thank you so much for watching. Do join us next week. Until then, bye bye from me and the entire team. My name is Aliou Ceesay. Bye.